Hello, Idea Team and Family. My name is Miss Philpott, and today we're going to be doing a read aloud together. We'll be reading the book Chester's Way by Kevin Henkes. For today's lesson, have a piece of paper and a pencil if you can to track our learning. First, we're going to do a vocabulary mini baby lesson so that we know all of the words in the book, and then we're going to read the book together. I hope you really enjoy this book. It's one of my favorite authors, Kevin Henkes, who does all of these little mouse books. Who remembers another one of these mouse books that we've read before? Okay, let's get started.
Before we begin reading, let's go over a few words to help you understand what's happening in the story. The first word is remark. What word? The definition is something you say that tells you what you think. Read that to yourself. Here's an example sentence. She made a remark about me getting tall. So the grandmother must have said that her granddaughter is getting tall. That is a remark. The next word is nifty. What word? The definition is something that is cool or useful. Here's an example sentence. A fan is a nifty way to keep cool. And here the little girl is using that nifty fan to keep cool. The next word is duplicate. What word? The definition is to make an exact copy of something. Read that definition to yourself. Here's your example sentence. We duplicated the key so we had an extra one. And there's the picture of the duplicated key, the same copy. The next word is diagonal. What word? The definition is a line that goes from corner to corner. Read that definition to yourself. Here's an example sentence. The rug has diagonal stripes. Let me say that again. The rug has diagonal stripes. And notice how they go from corner to corner in that picture. Now let's do a little quiz to remember what each word means. It says, choose the word that matches the definition. If a line goes from corner to corner, it is, say it out loud, which word do you think it is? Remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty? The answer is diagonal. That is correct. Here's our next one. To tell what you think is to make a remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty. Say your answer. The correct answer is remark. Next one says, to copy something is to blank it. Remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty. Say your answer out loud. The correct answer is duplicate. Something cool and useful is, here are your choices, remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty. Say your answer out loud. The correct answer is nifty. Now choose the word that best completes each sentence. I drew a blank of this picture so I could give one to Grandma. Your answers are remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty. Say your answer out loud. The correct answer is duplicate. Glasses that change from clear to dark in the sunlight are remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty. That's right, the answer is nifty. Because remember, a nifty thing is something that's cool. Mom will blank that I did a good job if I do well on my test. 1. Remark. 2. Duplicate. 3. Diagonal. 4. Nifty. Say your answer out loud. The correct answer is remark. I folded my paper in a blank line. The answer choices are remark, duplicate, diagonal, or nifty. Say your answer out loud. The answer is duplicate. Oh, sorry, I went back. It was diagonal. Sorry, guys. Try again. The answer is diagonal. Silly me. Read each sentence and tell if it is true or false. If it is false, tell why. The diagonal line went straight up and down. True or false? Think about it. Which one is it and why? The correct answer would be false, because a diagonal line does not go straight up and down. It goes from corner to corner. Dirt is nifty. True or false? I'm going to say false because I don't think that's very interesting and cool, but we'll see. We were right. Good job, guys. Read each list of words. Which word does not belong and why? Remark, comment, thought, statement. Which one of these words does not belong in this group of words and why? The answer is thought, because remark, comment, and statement are all things that you say out loud. And a thought is something that stays in your head. Which word in this list does not belong and why? Bake, copy, reproduce, duplicate. Which one doesn't belong? The answer is bake, because copy, reproduce, and duplicate are all synonyms. They mean to make a copy of something. Your friend was busy and didn't get his homework done. Now he wants to duplicate your homework that you worked hard on. What would you do? You can write your answer down or you can say it out loud. Your choice.
Okay, let's get started reading this book, Chester's Way, written by Kevin Henkes. While we're reading today, we're going to be noticing and paying attention to the way that characters change. Because remember, a character changes from the beginning of the story to the end. So here's the question that I want you to be thinking about while we're reading today. How does Chester change in this story? If you have a piece of paper or a notebook, you can follow along by making notes like this. You can write Chester's name at the top, draw 2 lines separating the page into thirds, and put B-M-E. Who remembers what B-M-E means? Think about it. Say it with me. Beginning, middle, end. So we're going to be tracking the way that Chester's character traits change at the beginning, middle, and end of the story. Let's get started reading. Chester's Way by Kevin Henkes. For Jenny. That's the dedication page. Hello, my name is Chester. I like croquet and peanut butter and making my bed. Chester had his own way of doing things. Over here at the top. He always cut his sandwiches diagonally. He always got out of bed on the same side, and he never left the house without double knotting his shoes. Over here. Chester always had the same thing for breakfast, toast with jam and peanut butter. And he always carried a miniature first aid kit in his back pocket, just in case. You definitely have a mind of your own, said Chester's mother. That's one way to put it, said Chester's father. Okay, I'm going to pause right there. And I'm going to put some notes in the beginning section here. I'm noticing that Chester is very particular. Chester is very particular. That means he likes things to be done his way specifically, like having his sandwiches cut diagonally, always getting out of bed on the same side, double knotting his shoes. I'm going to put he always follows the same routine. Sounds like he's doing the same things every day. Do you guys have any routines that you follow every single day? Make a text to self connection there. Let's go to the next page. Chester's best friend Wilson was exactly the same way. That's why they were best friends. Chester wouldn't play baseball unless Wilson played, and they never swung at the first pitch or slid head first. Wilson wouldn't ride his bike unless Chester wanted to, and they always used hand signals. If Chester was hungry, Wilson was too, but they rarely ate between meals. Some days, I can't tell those two apart, said Wilson's mother. Me either, said Wilson's father. Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester, that's the way it was. I'm going to add another note to the beginning here. Chester has a best friend who acts just like him, named Wilson. And something else is coming to mind, right? Like they never swing at the first pitch. They always use hand signals. They don't eat in between meals. What I'm thinking is Chester and Wilson are very careful. They're not rule breakers, right? Like they follow rules. They're very careful of safety and health. Chester and Wilson are very careful. Wow, we already have so many notes for this beginning section on our character Chester. Let's keep going. Top of the page. They love to go on picnics. Once, when Wilson accidentally swallowed a watermelon seed and cried because he was afraid that a watermelon plant would grow inside him, Chester swallowed one too. Don't worry, said Chester. Now if you grow a watermelon plant, I'll grow one too. Chester duplicated his Christmas list every year and gave a copy to Wilson because they always wanted the same things anyway. For Halloween, they dressed as things that went together. Salt and pepper shakers, 2 mittens on a string, ham and eggs. They really are 2 peas in a pod, said Chester's mother. Looks like it, said Chester's father. In spring, Chester and Wilson shared the same umbrella. In winter, they never threw snowballs at each other. In fall, they raked leaves together. And in summer, they reminded each other to wear sunscreen so they wouldn't burn. Again, very careful, aren't they? They never threw snowballs at each other. They share the same umbrella. Very careful, these two. Very safe. Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was. And then Lily moved into the neighborhood. Lily had her own way of doing things. I'm Lily. I am the queen. I like everything. If you've read Julius Baby of the World, this is the same Lily. Ooh, I love these Kevin Hankes books because he connects the characters together in all of his picture books. How fun. Now, if you have read Julie's Baby of the World, think back to Lily. Think about how her character is. Think about the way she behaves. Let's see how she gets along with Chester and Wilson, huh? She wore Band-Aids all over her arms and legs to look brave. She talked backwards to herself sometimes so no one would know what she was saying. And she never left the house without one of her nifty disguises. Lily waved at all the cars that passed by, even if she didn't know who was in them. And she always carried a loaded squirt gun in her back pocket, just in case. She definitely has a mind of her own, said Chester. That's one way to put it, said Wilson. So let's go to the middle here. What just happened? Well, Lily moved to town. Going to make a compound sentence. And Chester does not like her. I inferred that from this last sentence here, guys. I'll read it to you. She definitely has a mind of her own, said Chester. That's one way to put it, said Wilson. So they're like, oh, this girl, she's kind of crazy, right? Because they're really careful. And she's wearing disguises. She has Band-Aids all over her. She wears a squirt gun in her pocket. And she waves at strangers in cars. I would say she might be the opposite of them, right? She's not careful at all. How about, I'm going to put Lily is a little wild. Kind of reminds me of my Lydia. Lily is a little wild compared to Chester and Wilson. So I'm just making that note that Chester, the character up here, doesn't like Lily because she's wild compared to them. She's not as careful as them. Let's go to the next page. When Lily and Chester and Wilson, let me start that again. When Lily asked Chester and Wilson to play, they said they were busy. When she called them up on the phone, they disguised their voices and said they weren't home. If Lily was walking on one side of the street, Chester and Wilson crossed to the other and hid. She's something else, said Chester. Looks like it, said Wilson. Okay. So Chester avoids Lily because he thinks she's a little crazy, right? She's not careful like him and Wilson. So they try not to play with her. They don't answer the phone. They say they're busy. They go to the other side of the street. They're really avoiding her, right? One day, while Chester and Wilson were practicing their hand signals, some older boys rode by, popping wheelies. They circled Chester and Wilson and yelled personal remarks. Chester and Wilson didn't know what to do. Just when they were about to give up hope, a fierce-looking cat with horrible fangs jumped out of the bushes and frightened the older boys away. Look at those boots. Who is that cat? Oh, and you can see the cat over here too behind the bushes. Just waiting and watching the boys popping willies and making those personal remarks. Are you who I think you are? Chester asked the cat. Of course, the cat replied. Thank you, Lily, said Chester. You're welcome, Chester, said Lily. Thank you, Lily, said Wilson. You're welcome, Wilson, said Lily. I'm glad you were wearing a disguise, said Chester. And I'm glad you had a squirt gun, said Wilson. I always do, said Lily, just in case. And I'm going to make a little note right there at the end of my middle section. Chester tells Lily, thank you. That kind of shows me that maybe he's starting to think of her differently because she saved him from the story, right? From the bigger kids who were on their bikes popping wheelies and saying personal remarks. So maybe he might be changing a little bit in the way that he thinks about her. So I added that in. Let's keep reading. Afterward, Chester invited Lily over for lunch. You have a muscle mouse cup, said Lily. Of course, said Chester. I do too, said Lily. Same here, said Wilson. Chester and Wilson cut their sandwiches diagonally. Lily asked Chester's mother if she had a cookie cutter, and she made stars and flower bells. She made stars, flowers, and bells. That's neat, said Chester. Wow, said Wilson. That night, Lily invited Chester and Wilson to sleep over. You have a nightlight, said Chester. Of course, said Lily. I do too, said Chester. Same here, said Wilson. Oh, so they're all noticing maybe some things they have in common and maybe new things that they can learn from each other that are different. Maybe Lily could be their friend after all. Let's keep reading to find out. Chester and Wilson wanted toast with jam and peanut butter for breakfast the next morning. Boring, said Lily. Try this instead. This is good, said Chester. Wow, said Wilson. Hold on, so Chester and Wilson are trying different things? They're going outside of their comfort zone? I'm noticing that I might be towards the end of the story, maybe like a little bit. I think I'm going to add in Chester learns to try new things. Because before, at the beginning of the story, he would only have diagonal sandwiches. But now he's having sandwiches in shapes. That's trying new things. And at the beginning, I don't think he would have done that. So that to me is a character change that's happening at the end of the story. Chester and Wilson we already read that, sorry. That's good, said Chester. Wow, said Wilson. After that, when Lily asked Chester and Wilson to play, they said yes. When she called them up on the phone, they had pleasant conversations. And if Lily was walking on one side of the street, Chester and Wilson waved and ran to catch up with her. Chester and Wilson taught Lily hand signals, and she taught them how to pop wheelies. Lily taught Chester and Wilson how to talk backwards, and they taught her how to double knot her shoes. Some days I can't tell those three apart, said Lily. Me either, said Lily's father. Chester and Wilson and Lily. Lily and Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was. For Halloween, they dressed as the three blind mice. For Christmas, Lily gave Chester and Wilson nifty disguises. And they gave her a box of multicolored shoelaces, extra long for double knotting. They loved to go on picnics. When Chester and Wilson told Lily about how they had each swallowed a watermelon seed once, Lily swallowed 3 of them. Wow, she's a brave girl, huh? I'll grow a watermelon plant for each of us, she said. In spring, Chester and Wilson and Lily shared the same umbrella. In winter, they never threw snowballs at each other. In fall, they raked leaves together. And in summer, they reminded each other to wear sunscreen so they wouldn't burn. Chester and Wilson and Lily. Lily and Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was. And then Victor moved into the neighborhood. So what was the big way that ended here, right? For Chester's personality or his character traits. Chester learned to try new things. And Chester made another friend, made a new friend. Where in the beginning, he only had the one friend. Wow, characters really can change, right? So remember in the beginning, Chester was very particular. He always followed that same routine. He was careful and he only had that one best friend, Wilson. Then Lily moved to town in the middle. And Chester and Wilson did not like her because Lily was a little wild compared to Chester and Wilson. And they avoided her. But then, what did she do? She saved them from some older boys who were making fun of them, making those personal remarks, right? And then at the end, they all became best friends, and then Chester and Wilson learned how to do new things. I hope you enjoy this book as much as I do. Don't forget to do the AR quiz because that is your assignment today. I've also attached those vocabulary pages for you to work on. And really think about the different ways that Chester and Wilson both changed. And think about how Lily did that. How did she impact them? Okay, have a great day. Enjoy your reading.